PlayStation 5. We have another reclamation project from another shop. They attempted to fix a ripped off fan connector, so we're going to have to get it apart and take a look and see if we can fix it. They were unable to do it, so who knows? We'll give it a shot. For your orientation purposes, while we're working in the fan area, we will be working here in the targeted area. It is around some connectors, so we'll have to be careful. And then if we are successful in fixing the fan area, we will have to work on the liquid metal and that big dry spot on the CPU located here. Well, it looks like they tried to follow my instructions to a degree. We're going to have a lot of cleanup to do to take a look under there and see what exactly is going on. Okay, let's get this party started. We're going to have to do some cleanup first, so let's go ahead and get the equipment turned on and get all of that out of the way. While I turn on my equipment, let me throw up my expected temperatures for this job. These temperatures are brought to you by the associate links in the description. If you go to my video description and click on one of these links and buy any of this equipment, a small portion of that purchase will go to supporting the channel. And I greatly appreciate you. It won't cost you an extra dime. Where we're going to have to start is basically get all this up and removed. Did they even solder it down? There's no solder on there. They just stuck it down? That's never going to work. Just used it as tape? You missed a step. It's not going to make contact just as tape. Yikes. Wow. Okay. Scrape off all this uncured solder mask. Barely cured. It shouldn't be mushy like that. Might be able to just clean it off with a toothbrush. For the most part. It's like they heard I use copper tape and just assumed that's all I did. I only have how many videos on this subject? And they're not even long videos. I'm pretty efficient, I would say. Sorry, it just makes me laugh. I probably do, other than shorts, the shortest repair videos out there. And you can't watch the repair video and figure out what I'm doing here. I make it as painless as possible. I can already see several problems. One, you scraped up here. This circuit is isolated. See this green line all the way around this circuit? This circuit is isolated from ground. All this around here is ground. There's a reason why this big thick green line is around the circuit. This is the line right here. This, if you connect this to this, you're shorting the whole circuit to ground. This is ground, this is fine. You can scrape both sides of this, you can solder to that. This is not the same circuit. You got several circuits in this area that if you put copper on top of this or solder copper on top of it, you're shorting like 3 lines to ground. This is a different line, this is a different line, this is ground, and this is the line for this circuit. This little via right here. This has nothing to do with it. This has nothing to do with it. All this has nothing to do with it. We're going to have to cover all that up, clean all this up. Yep, we have a little bit of work to do, but I do believe this is going to be salvageable. So, let's go ahead and do our cleanup. To wick all this down, a few things over here I need to be able to see and make sure that there haven't been cut lines. For the wicking, we'll be using our 120 watt at temperature specified. Just gently do wicking. There are some small parts here we don't want to accidentally suck up. That capacitor right there, for instance. That should be adequate. We don't need this big blob of solder here. You almost got that cap. You better be careful. We're going to need to clean this thoroughly. so that I can solder mask properly the area. We're going to have to do some solder masking before we do any of the work, because there's areas we just need to protect. What do we got going on over here? Solder balls. A lot of solder balls for not having soldered anything. Okay, I don't see any cut lines or anything, so that's good. Dry it all up. I'm going to do some strategic covering before we do our work. I'm going to do some of the tried and true clean wipe with acid brush. Get the rest. The oldest cleaning techniques you'll see out there, and that's because it works. Okay, let's cover up things we don't want soldered to other things. The only thing we're going to leave uncovered over here is that via. That right there is the line for that. That little bitty thing. It's where most people make the mistake on these. And every layout is a little different on each model. But it's always going to have one of these little small signal lines. That confuses people. They think it's all this big stuff. It's like, no, it's that little line right there. Now, shoot. We don't want any solder mask on that at all. We do want solder mask over here, though. I'm not worried about it. I will just scrape it off later. It's not a big deal. I want all the ground covered up around this circuit, because possibility we may have to lay the pad in a way that will make contact with other things. So, as long as it's covered, it's fine, but if it's not covered, it's not fine. That's all ground, so I'm not worried about that. Okay. Dab this up a little bit without getting alcohol everywhere. Don't really need that there. It says not a big deal. We can scrape it off later. And it's a very thin coating of it, so not a big deal. I think we're ready for our first cure. Sticking the lamp on there and walking away, having a snack, watching a YouTube video or something. Let it get a thorough cure, and then we will return. Okay, I think we're cured enough to do some work. Next thing we need to do is some prep work. Grab our scraper, give ourselves a little bit more copper to solder to, because we will be soldering. Okay, that's good enough there, and I think that's all we need. Grab our flux to pre-tin our soldering spots. Get those up too. Switching to our micro pencil. Don't need any big lumps or anything, but a little bit of care over here. Sometimes be a little bit challenging getting solder on these. Even a little bit of solder mask gets on, and I don't want to take solder. Of course, it's also a very little spot. So. But there we go. I got a little bit of solder on it. That'll work. Give these a refresh. Some slight scraping next to that via, but I think we can avoid it with the wire. When we get to that point, we'll cover it up again. Just to be safe. Just kind of have to rely on your eye calibration at this point. We need the center pad. Looks pretty good. I don't care if it's long, as long as it's about the right width. This is for ground, so it doesn't matter how long it is. If you pre-tin one side, ideally the side that doesn't have adhesive on it, it makes soldering it down much smoother. It also strengthens the pad. The adhesive can make things a little tricky, but it's better to clean it off after. You can clean it off before, it's just more fiddly to do it that way. Get one side down smoothly. More smoothly than that. Trying really hard not to touch that part or any of these connectors. As straight as I need it. Okay. Side down the other side. Flat, ideally. Alright, that is very solid. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it's long. Will not hurt a thing. Now we need this other pad right here. Not yay big on that. See if we're going to be about the right size. Remember, we got to flip it over. I think that's going to work just fine. I'm going to have to bring it up a little bit, but I think we'll be all right. Pre-10. Solder. That'll do. It ain't gonna be perfect. Flip it over. If we go along, I think it'd be better if we go this way with it. We'll make more contact. Like I said, I'm not worried about it creeping into other areas because the other areas are covered. This adhesive can make things a little challenging. Nope, I want it the other way. You will not win, adhesive. Solder. Let's bring it down a little bit. We don't want it to get too close to that ground plane. There we go. I'd rather creep over on this side than that side. Yes, it is going outside of the lines, but like I said, it's covered. We're good. Won't hurt anything. Last thing we have to do is run that one, but what we need to do now is clean up and secure down. Get rid of this excess solder here. We're going to secure these down with solder mask, and then we'll run our jumper. I'm going to clean it first because I don't want to have to clean off the adhesive with the jumper on there and risk fatiguing the wire. Your success with this job is very much about what sequence you do things in. Pretty much all the adhesive Now we can run our jumper safely. The jumper wire is definitely the most delicate part of the repair. Switching to our Pico pencil. Like a little better solder blob on that via. If possible. There we go. That's exactly what we're looking for. Let's take a look at this wire and see if it's too big. I think it's actually fine. It's a little thicker than what I normally use, but probably more correct. Scrape off, burn off the enamel. So we can solder him in place. Not a good joint. As good a joint as we can get. That is a pretty good joint. And in this case, we're just going to leave it hanging, but we are going to secure it down there. We need to do some delicate cleaning just to make sure we got the flux up. I'm just brushing in one direction with the wire, not against it. Let some of the air do the work. I feel like we're getting all the flux up there, so I'm going to scrub a little bit just through the wire, but I'm holding the wire in place. Just generally don't want any flux where I'm going to put solder mask. I'm going to cut it relatively long. This one we will wrap around the pin. So I want plenty of wire to wrap. That'll do. Time for our next application of solder mask. We'll cover that joint up real good. And everything around it. Now we'll secure down our pads. The reason why we put the solder mask on the pads is so that they don't float. We'll cure this really well so it'll be rock solid. So when we go to solder the connector and the solder joint's wet, they won't get sucked up into the connector or float around or move and make connections where we don't want other connections. The solder mask in this case is basically acting like a helping hand. It'll hold everything in place that wants to move around while we're soldering. I'm going to go ahead and cover up this little cap just so there's not a threat of us sucking it up into an iron while we're soldering on the connector. Anything you can do to help yourself out is good. All the pins are going to be on this side, so it doesn't really matter if we have all this covered up. It was covered up originally anyway. We're probably going to need a new connector. I think I have one around here somewhere. Is there anything else I need to cover up that I'm not seeing? I think we're okay. Good. Curing round 2. Again, step away, go eat a snack, go eat lunch, watch a video, let it cure thoroughly, and then come back and do more work. I hope you're getting value out of this video. Just a reminder, if you find you're not ready to tackle this, I do offer these services, both locally and mail-in. Just head over to micromage.repair, click free quote, fill out the form, and I'll get back to you personally. If you mention this video, I'll give you 10% off on your repair. Alright, I believe we are well cured. I had a nice good lunch. Let's add some flux and tin our new pads. Since the ground pad, it can be a little stiff. That should do. I'm going to change the orientation on you guys so that I can solder this connector. And get y'all in view and me in view. I am the more important one, but not that you're not important to me, but getting the work done is more important. I'm not really sure what he was trying to do on this connector. It's seen better days. Let's try to glue it on with the solder mask. It looks pretty sad. I think it's still usable. I might just go with a new connector though. Sorry dude, you're getting a white connector because that connector is just toast. Should be fine, assuming it's got the right footprint. It does. I may have to grind away some of the sides on these anchor points just so I can get a little bit more solder space for hand soldering. I do not want to use hot air here at all. All these plastic connectors nearby would be a problem. So let's grind off a little more space on these ground points. I can bridge solder up to them. Need to be a little bit careful here, but not too careful. I still got plenty of space. There's no isolated vias here that I can see. I don't need a lot of space, just a little. Wash off strategically here. I don't want to do a full cleaning here at the moment, so we'll just get the dust off. Add a little bit of flukes. And add a little bit more solder. The nice thing about those being ground is we can extend them and it won't hurt anything. Won't hurt a thing. We do not want them, however, to be high. Get these anchors down first if we can. And wet this one first if we can. Okay, that one's on. It's not real on, but it's on. Okay. We have our anchors down. Terrible view. I apologize. They're tacked down, but now we're going to add solder to them. Get the bridge all the way over. There we go. Now that's solid. Excellent. We're going to try and do our very best to wrap this around this pin here. Get as many wraps as we can safely without breaking or fatiguing the wire. And definitely without breaking it off the board. Because at this point that would be really sad. Wow, we got a nice 3 wraps on that. Very nice. Add some flux up to all of our pins. Now let's add some solder to our iron and solder that wire on. It'll take a second for the enamel to burn off the wire, so just be patient. Okay, I think we are connected there. Connect there. And we don't want the bridge. There we go. Let's clean it off and make sure we don't still have a bridge there. And as we have everything critical kind of covered up here, we can be a little bit liberal. Not too liberal, but we even have the small parts near the connector covered, so. Oh, good. I'm going to clean up the rest off screen and we'll come back for a final inspection. Alright, final inspection. Everything looks solid. It's not beautiful, but it's not going to be beautiful when you rip your connector off the board. It is very solid though. I can pick up the board with it. In this case, I won't steal somebody else's catchphrase, but let's just say it's better than it was originally. We'll put it back together and give it a test. After, of course, we deal with this problem. Because you must always deal with this problem on every PS5. Regardless of model. If it has liquid metal, it's going to have a dry spot. As always, just got to kind of rub it until the oxidization comes up. Start hearing that squeak. You're making progress. When it gets clean, it'll spread. Then you just suck up the excess on the sides, reapply it onto the die. And I've never really had to put fresh or new liquid metal on. It's usually just plenty of it here. I do try to avoid using alcohol or anything on it, I don't know what effects that has on the metal, if any. Once you have it reapplied, just spread it around. Make sure you don't have any other dry spots. I'll need to do the heat sink as well, but I don't see the need to do it on screen. Okay, kids, moment of truth. Fan spin. I see picture. Excellent. Ta-da! The shop said it couldn't be fixed. We tried it several times. We have succeeded. If you got value out of this video, I think you'll get value out of this one, and I'll see you there. Until then, have a blessed day.